Hello, I'm Alma Angeles. Welcome to ASEAN and Focus, bringing you the latest news in the dynamic ASEAN region. We are with our... all right, on today's headlines. We are honored to have on the show Mr. Ruben Pascual, Secretary General of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Welcome to the program. We're coming to you live from Manila and Thailand. Hello, Esther. What is the next headline?
Yes, Alma, good afternoon, and to all our viewers. On the next headline, greater collaboration between the public and private sectors is vital to defeat the coronavirus disease 2019 or COVID-19 pandemic and mitigate the impact of climate change. President Rodrigo Roa Duterte told the business leaders from the 21 member economies of Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC.
Chinese President Xi Jinping warned against a return to a Cold War-era tensions in the Asia-Pacific, urging greater cooperation on pandemic recovery and climate change.
And a top Thai court ruled Wednesday that speeches by three protest leaders calling for royal reforms amounted to a bid to overthrow the country's monarchy, potentially opening the way to treason charges against them.
All right. So this year's 47th Business Conference and Expo with the theme Innovation.ph, Economic Recovery for All, is happening on November 17th to the 18th. And we are honored to have on our program Mr. Ruben Pascual, the Secretary General of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Welcome to the program, sir.
Good afternoon, Alma.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you very much for inviting PCCI to your program.
Sir, please tell us about the PBCNE, the Philippine Business Conference and Expo. What will we be expecting as the main topics to be discussed? And tell us the highlights, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Alma. You know, the PCCI, which is the largest business organization in the Philippines, which has about 35,000 direct and indirect members, will be holding our biggest annual event, which is called the Philippine Business Conference and Exposition. And every year we gather top businessmen as well as our small businessmen, which comprise bulk of the membership of PCCI, what we call the MSMEs. So every year, we expect the BBC to really raise certain issues and bring to the fore the current issues of the land. What do we do, especially now? We are just recovering now from the pandemic. We are opening up the economy. So it's important to listen to very important people of the country. This includes, of course, we will be opened by Vice President Leni Robredo, and the event, the two-day event, will be closed by President Rodrigo Duterte. In between, we have very important sessions where they will be tackling major issues from handling the pandemic, what to do about internet connectivity, what to do with agriculture, and so forth and so on. And these plenary sessions are going to be critical. First, we will be opened by a discussion by the economic managers, led by a presentation by Secretary Dominguez to give us a detailed discussion on where we are, what's going to happen to our economy, and we have other economic managers joining the panel. Next, we will have two sessions with the CEOs, the top CEOs of the country. We divide them into two CEOs whose operations are technology-oriented, like PLDT, Union Bank, and Philinvest. And then there's another set of CEOs that will be discussing other issues of businesses. Third, we will have also a discussion with international speakers who will share their experiences on how they have implemented innovation reforms to bring the respective countries to to new heights. And these are speakers from Israel, from India, as well as from Japan. And finally, what a lot of people are waiting for is the panel, is the forum of the presidentiables. We have invited the 6 candidates so far. There may be 7. On Monday, there may be 7 already, but we have invited already those who filed their candidacies for president. 6 of them, we have, this will be a recorded session. We have taken out the live session so that every candidate will have equal time to discuss their platforms and give the public an idea how they intend to implement their respective governance programs. So I leave it up to that, Alma, and to answer more questions.
Yes, sir, what is the importance of bringing this kind of an expo, a business conference, in a time that we are coming out of a pandemic?
All the more it is critical, Alma, because a lot of people are really asking now, what do we do now? We're starting to open up. So it will be a review of what happened over the past 20 months. We've been in the pandemic status for the past 20 months. But right now, there is rising hope of the country easing up and eventually recovering from the ravages wrought by the COVID-19 pandemic. The PBC is perfectly timed because people are asking, what do we do now? What is expected of government? And most especially, people are asking our future leaders, especially the presidentiables, what will we do? What do you plan? How do you plan to handle the country's problems, particularly from recovering the economy and handling the health concerns of the country arising from the COVID-19 pandemic?
Sir, I'd just like to ask, if I may, if there will be a change in the administration, what will be the laundry list of PCCI and other business leaders for our next set of lawmakers? If if you may answer that.
Alma, every year when we hold the Philippine Business Conference, we prepare a set of resolutions. This year we have prepared 10 resolutions, and these are resolutions with specific actionable points that we believe that can be acted upon by the government for in the last 6 months. These are not wish lists for the future, but this is a wish list that we'd like to see over the next 10 months. And these resolutions, we cannot explain the details because we are officially submitting this to government next week. But the resolutions covering opening up the economy, assisting businesses create new and preserving existing jobs, fully implement the law on ease of doing business, fast-tracking internet connectivity, and institutionalizing innovation and other concerns involving energy, agriculture, and infrastructure. So these are a set of resolutions. We are addressing to the current administration, but we are as well addressing these resolutions to the future leaders of the land.
When it comes to technology, what has business from small to medium, let's say just to medium businesses, learned in adjusting to this globally disruptive events like the pandemic?
There is a lot of adjustments that were done by business enterprises, especially the MSMEs. The one clear thing is that everyone adjusted to digital transactions, payments, everything from the purchase merely on ordinary bag to a T-shirt. It has become digital. People know how to do this payment already. We have learned how to work from home and using our computers and cell phone to do that. And these are changes not only on the way we live and the way we do business, but these are changes in the digital world that we hope that will move to improving that will have an impact for the Philippines in terms of education and in terms of health as well. Without internet connectivity, we will be delayed in teaching our young population to learn more and really catch up with the right skills that we need for the future. Also to address the health, our hospitals, our workers, frontliners will need the connectivity as well so that they will be able to serve those who need protection from the virus.
Recently, we had this in the news. The global supply chain was disrupted partly as lockdowns have been lifted, demand has rocketed, and then supply chains were disrupted. What innovations did you discover during this pandemic?
A lot of changes in terms of the supply chain. We had to move, enterprises had to adjust their delivery schedules. They had to adjust their payment with transacting with government and the other suppliers as well. So it is indeed a disruption, but this is a necessary disruption, Alma, because there is no way that we will be conducting business any other way. This is the way to go. And that's the reason we are preparing Philippine business to be able to transact with the rest of the world, say from Thailand, the rest of ASEAN. This is how we are doing it. So it's not only Philippines doing it, it is being done by the rest of the region.
So, do you see any innovations staying in the long term?
Yeah. This is, as I said, this is not an option anymore. This is a lifetime change, and it's about time. In fact, the kind of innovation we are expecting for our enterprises or for our students or government to adopt, this has been fast-tracked because of the need to use these innovations. What is critical now for innovation is really preparing the very huge labor population of the country to prepare them for the new skills of the future. And this is where we at PCCI would like to, is joining hands with government to already start educating our young population to understand cloud computing, artificial intelligence, applications development, and the rest.
How do you see business brands leveraging apps like TikTok to spur business growth? Recently, I just saw TikTok on the Fortune cover, and they're using business brands in TikTok. Here in the Philippines, I may be wrong, but the perception of the use of such apps is for mainly entertainment, unless you have something new to share in this conference.
Yes. Not in this conference. Just by many of the companies that I've been talking to. While TikTok, for instance, is a social media platform that is popular for entertainment, it is now being looked at by many companies as a way to market their products. I have seen many TikTok stores, and these TikTok stores are getting very popular, and I see a migration of many companies to use this platform to promote and sell their products.
That's true. What about for, let's say, for us in the media, in television, radio, various platforms? How do we leverage technology during this time of the pandemic? What innovations do you think what innovations should traditional media be looking out for?
There is a huge transformation of the traditional media. The first the first area of media that really suffered is print. People hardly read the newspapers. You can see that people, especially the young people, get their news from their cell phones
Yes.
or news from their cable TVs, but primarily from their cell phones.
Yes.
I grew up in a generation that the first thing that you do is to read the newspapers together with your coffee. And this is how we saw our parents,
Yes.
and it's also the lifestyles. But this is no longer the case. No?
Yes.
The kind of information comes not only now from the traditional forms of media. We see information that is being delivered in social media by influencers, by digital creators, and so forth and so on. So there's a huge transformation, and it's so fast, ang hirap na, so it's very difficult to really follow. I think your format here, normally news agencies have multiple formats. You are shown on TV, you are heard in radio, and at the same time, people can view your programs in social media through their Facebook pages. It has totally changed, and I think the whole world is adapting to this change.
That's true. Sir, would you like to add some more anything to add some more on the event, on the conference? When is this? November 16th to the 18th? Am I right? That's right.
Yeah, specifically the 17th and the
17th, yes. 16, 17, 18.
November 16 chamber management is limited for the members of PCCI, especially for their regions. So I'd like to take this opportunity to invite your listeners and even you to join us, to join the Philippine Business Conference on November 17 and 18. This is open for the public. This is the first time we're doing it virtually. We used to be in a 5-star hotel.
Yes.
The holding it now will be very inclusive. We're expecting so many of the businessmen, even the business students and LGUs to participate as well. So I invite you. That is on November 17 and 18. For the general public, most interesting will be the presidential session on November 18, which starts at 9:30 a.m. So finally, what we hope at the PBC in holding is PCCI hopes not only to bring hope for the business community and the communities that depend on them for work and livelihood, but for the rest of the Filipino people. We believe through the PBC, a new age of prosperity is possible for the country if only we get all our acts together. Again, thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you, Alma. Thank you, Esther.
Sir, will this be face-to-face or you also have a Zoom platform, right? Is it both face-to-face and Zoom? Is that right?
Mainly via Zoom. But we are going to be live also in our Facebook pages. There is a small face-to-face portion for the production team and some of the officers to be held at the Innovation Center. But maybe you can see us virtually via Zoom. So you can get it from the platform of PCCI, the website of PCCI, and you will see there the link to the Philippine Business Conference. Otherwise, I will send it to you now.
Please.
And for you to invite everyone. I hope you can also flash in your next program.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Alma, again.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you also for the invitation on this event. Mr. Ruben Pascual, the Secretary General of PCCI, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. ASEAN in Focus. We'll be right back right after this.
Hi, I'm Alex Calleja, isang podcaster, YouTuber, writer, director, at isang stand-up comedian for more than 12 years. Ang sarap maging komedyante sa Pilipinas, no? Dahil paborito ng mga Pinoy, pagsaluan ang mga nakakatawang eksena sa paligid. Pero dahil sa pandemic, ang kulitan, naging online na lang. Naranasan mo na ba to? Ginising ka ng nanay mo para tanungin lang kung anong oras ka gigisingin. Pero masaya talaga pag sabay-sabay tayong nagtatawanan sa mga videos na gaya nito. Ito pa. Ito pa. At ito pa. Kaya naman, heto na ang funniest Nakaball Videos. Ang natatanging show na bubusugin ang buong sambayanan sa katatawanan. Ito ang bagong tambayan ng buong pamilya at barkada. Mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes nyo kami makakasama tuwing 4:30 p.m. Dito lang sa Net25. Dito, mapapanood natin ang best comedy videos na hinanap pa namin sa kasuluk-sulukan ng internet. So ano bang hinihintay nyo? Join na sa pinakabago at pinakamasayang afternoon habit ng tawanan at kulitan, ang funniest Nakaball Videos!
Welcome back. Two more news. UK Foreign Secretary Elizabeth Truss meets Indonesia President Joko Widodo and Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi during her visit to Indonesia. During the meetings, Indonesia reiterated commitment in tackling climate change with Truss, confirming UK's support to stability in the region. The visit is part of Truss' week-long Southeast Asia tour, where she also visits Malaysia and Thailand. Take a look.
On climate issues, I underline that Indonesia does not want to be trapped in rhetoric. We prefer to walk the talk. In this regard, the statement of President Widodo during the Volu meeting was very clear. The President, among others, mentioned that Indonesia aims to transform its forests and land use sector into net carbon sink by 2030.
First, on the Indonesia presidency of G20, I share the priorities of Indonesia presidency. Inclusiveness is the key spirit of the Indonesia presidency. Enhancing a stronger global health architecture, energy transition and digital transition will be amongst the most top priority of Indonesia presidency. I thank UK for its support toward Indonesia presidency. I'm very glad that the meeting with the UK investor on the sidelines of the COP26 generated new commitment of $9.29 billion for green economy.
We need to make sure that technology standards are shaped by the free world, and we want to work together with Indonesia in areas like cyber and also the next generation of technologies, whether that's 5G, 6G, or indeed areas like artificial intelligence and quantum. And next year, UK-designed frigates will be built in Surabaya. This is part of our extensive cooperation in the area of defence. We want
Deforestation and global warming in one Indonesian province caused temperatures to rise nearly a whole degree Celsius in 16 years, leading to an 8% increase in deaths, a study found Wednesday. The report published in the Lancet Planetary Health gives a rare insight into how global warming and deforestation can affect people living in one of the world's most vulnerable regions. Heat from deforestation and climate change is killing workers in tropical forest countries and decreasing the ability to work safely, lead author Nicholas Wolff of the Nature Conservancy told AFP. Wolff says the higher temperatures making it unsafe to work outdoors for an increasing part of the day is an equally bleak finding. it's going to affect so much of the larger population, he said. People are going to have to make these awful choices about whether to risk their lives to put food on the table. Indonesia is home to the world's third largest rainforest, and although deforestation there has slowed markedly since 2015, economic drivers like agriculture, logging, and mining mean the trees are still disappearing. According to Global Forest Watch in 2001, the country had 93.8 million hectares, or approximately 230 million acres of primary forests, ancient forests which have largely not been disturbed by human activity, an area about the size of Egypt. By 2020, the area had decreased by about 10%. Wolf says that the forests act as natural air conditioners, a finding that should be considered hopeful. Meanwhile, greater collaboration between the public and private sectors is vital to defeat the coronavirus disease 2019 or COVID-19 pandemic and mitigate the impact of climate change. President Rodrigo Duterte told the business leaders from the 21-member economies of Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, on Thursday. During his participation in 2021 APEC Business Advisory Council dialogue with business leaders, President Duterte stressed the importance of promoting digital literacy to facilitate the inclusion of vulnerable groups in the digital economy. Take a look.
First, improving digitalization and literacy in rural communities. APEC's economies must strengthen cooperation in digital infrastructure development, especially in remote and disadvantaged areas. We must also promote digital literacy to facilitate the inclusion of vulnerable groups in the digital economy. This will help increase the economic productivity of marginalized groups under the new normal. Establishing a national social protection floor, or SPF. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the limitation of social protection programs in APEC communities. These gaps can be addressed through the SPF that guarantees a minimum set of social security benefits for all, in accordance with International Labor Organization standards. Third, facilitating the transition of developing economies to a low-carbon economy in face of the climate change. The Philippines reiterates its call for scaled-up, sustainable, and predictable support from developed countries. This should be in the form of climate finance, technology, transfer and development, and capacity building.
In other news, Chinese President Xi Jinping warned on Thursday against a return to Cold War-era tensions in the Asia-Pacific, urging greater cooperation on pandemic recovery and climate change. Amid growing tensions with the United States over Taiwan, partially offset by a surprise deal between Beijing and Washington on climate, Xi said all countries in the region must work together on joint challenges. Take a look.
以意识形态划线，搞地缘政治小圈子，终究是没有前途的。亚太地区不能也不应该回到冷战时期的对立和割裂状态。无论世界形势如何演变，亚太经济韧性好、动力强的优势 不会改变，要坚持向前看、朝前走，反对歧视性、排他性做法。
Beijing has ramped up military activities near Taiwan with a record number of planes intruding into island's air defense identification zone in early October. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that the U.S. would ensure Taiwan can defend itself to avoid anyone trying to disrupt the status quo by force. China also claims almost all of the resource-rich South China Sea, through which trillions of dollars in shipping trade pass annually, rejecting competing claims from Brunei, Malaysia, the Philippines, Taiwan, and Vietnam. Against the backdrop, the United States, Britain, and Australia announced in September that they had formed a new alliance, AUKUS, under which Australia will acquire nuclear-powered submarines using U.S. technology. The government is targeting to mobilize 170,000 to 200,000 medical workers to serve as vaccinators during the 3-day national COVID-19 vaccination drive from November 29 to December 1. In an interview at the Palace Press Briefing on Thursday, Dr. Kizia Rosario of National Vaccination Operations Center said the government has to prepare larger capacities for the Bayanihan Bakunahan Day. Let's watch this.
Malakihan nga po yung kailangan na ipaghanda natin na capacities, no, across from the national level at saka sa regional at saka sa local level. Yung mga LGUs ay sinasabihan natin na susuportahan ng national government, bigyan natin na sila ng additional resources. So ang ginagawa ng national is really to mobilize all the resources, whether it be from the private sector, from the other government agencies, no, na idala natin siya into a single forum para ma-distribute din natin sa mga LGUs na nangangailangan ng additional capacity. So for the vaccinators, kailangan tayo na mag-mobilize ng around 170,000. We are also expecting to be as high as 200,000. That's why talagang ini-involve natin lahat ng mga doctors natin, nurses, yung mga dentists natin, pharmacists, mga medical technologists natin na ma-mobilize yung societies nila para ma-mobilize din lahat ng mga members ng mga societies to join this activity, no, and to volunteer to be part of this activity as we are invoking yung bayanihan spirit na ito naman ay ginagawa natin not only sa pagbabakuna, doon din sa pag-address ng COVID-19 pandemic.
Meanwhile, crisis alert level 4 or mandatory evacuation has been raised in Ethiopia due to continued and intensifying conflict in the African nation, the Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA announced Thursday night. The DFA advised against traveling to Eastern African nation and asked Filipinos residing there to restrict non-essential movements, avoid public places, and immediately prepare for evacuation. Alert level 4 is raised when there is a large-scale internal conflict or full-blown external attack, under which the Philippine government undertakes mandatory evacuation procedures. As of December 2020, the DFA said that there are around 800 Filipinos in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian government has been battling forces from Tigray since November last year after the Tigray People's Liberation Front attacked a federal army base in the region. According to the United Nations, the war has left thousands dead and pushed about 400,000 people into famine-like conditions. On Monday, it said the year-long conflict has reached disastrous proportions and warned of grave uncertainty surrounding the future of Ethiopia and stability of the whole Horn of Africa. Filipinos in Ethiopia who need assistance may contact the Philippine Embassy in Cairo, Egypt. Returning Filipino workers or balik manggagawa workers are now allowed to go back to Iraq. The Philippine Overseas Employment Administration or POEA said on Thursday. In a laging handa public briefing, POEA Chief Bernard Olalia said this came after the Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA downgraded Iraq from Alert Level 4 to Alert Level 3. Take a look.
Unang-una, yung pong alert level at tayo po ay nag-issue nga ng resolution, palagay po doon, malinaw, hindi po natin papayagan ang mga new hires, no? Yung mga bagong OFWs. Ang papayagan lamang po ay yung mga return values o yung mga tinatawag nating balik manggagawa. Sila po yung may existing and live employment contracts at sila po ay pupunta ng Pilipinas para magbakasyon o di kaya sila po ay naririto at babalik muli sa kanilang mga employers po doon. Ang mga requirements po ay kinakailangang isumite sa aming pong tanggapan o doon po sa aming polo or embahada or embassy sa Pilipinas. Doon po sila ay mabigyan ng certification na sila po ay makakauwi at makakabalik ng Pilipinas. Pangunahing mga dokumento dito, kailangan patunayan nila na sila po ay may existing contracts. No? Kanilang kontrata ipapakita po nila at isa pa pong napaka-importante rin, meron pong certification o plano yung kanilang employer kung papaano sila tutulungan in case na magkakaroon po ng problema. So ilan lamang po yon sa mga dokumento na kailangang ipakita para po ma-avail nila yung magiging pagbabalik or pagiging BM po nila o balik magagawin.
And the news continues here in ASEAN in Focus after this short break.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Welcome back. Back here in the country, the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, said election candidates caught buying votes may face administrative and criminal charges and may be disqualified from running during the 2022 elections. Take a look.
Para po sa mga kandidato, dalawa po yan may administrative aspect po yan. Yun po yung sa parte po yun ng COMELEC, so maaari po silang ma-disqualify. Meron din po itong criminal aspect. Yun po is pag meron pong naghain din nag-file ng kaso against them for vote buying nga, that is a criminal offense na po, at pag doon na po sa criminal aspect, pwede po silang makakulong doon. Pero ang jurisdiction lang po bali ng COMELEC is on the disqualification of the candidate. Yun po yung para sa kandidato. Dapat din po malaman ng taong bayan na hindi lamang po para sa kandidato, hindi lamang sila ang napaparusahan sa vote buying. Dahil kahit ang tayong mga botante, pag tayo po ay nahuli naman ding tumanggap, kasama po tayo doon at maaari din po tayong makasuhan ng isang election offense, which is punishable po for 1 to 6 years imprisonment.
Now let's go over here in Thailand, where a top Thai court ruled Wednesday that speeches by 3 protest leaders calling for royal reforms amounted to a bid to overthrow the country's monarchy, potentially opening the way to treason charges against them. Thailand's super wealthy royal family wields enormous influence in society and is shielded from criticism and scrutiny by draconian royal defamation laws that carry prison sentences of up to 15 years of charge. During the major street demonstrations in August last year, Panusaya CPG Rawatanakun, widely known by the name Room, read out a list of 10 demands, including more transparency of royal finances and the abolition of lay majesty laws. The controversial speech and others by 2 other protest leaders, lawyer Anon Numpa and Panupong Mike Hadnock at the Thammasat University rally, tested the boundaries of free speech in Thailand. On Wednesday, the Thai Constitutional Court ruled that the speeches aim to overthrow the constitutional monarchy.
In other news, an autistic teenager jailed for writing messages deemed insulting to the Cambodian government vowed to continue to fight for patriots after he was released from prison on Wednesday. Let's listen in.
ខ្ញុំបាទមានអារម្មណ៍ថាខ្ញុំបានចេញមានសេរីភាពវិញហើយប៉ុន្តែខ្ញុំក៏សង្ឃឹមថានឹងត្រូវតែតស៊ូជានិច្ចហើយខ្ញុំតស៊ូដើម្បីអ្នកស្នេហាជាតិឬក៏នឹងជួយជាមេត្តាភូមិហើយក៏សង្ឃឹមថាឲ្យប្រទេសកម្ពុជាយើងនឹងត្រូវនឹងជារីចម្រើនដើម្បីឲ្យរួបរวมជាកម្ពុជាយើងទាំងអស់ខ្ញុំសូមឲ្យខ្ញុំសង្ឃឹមថានឹងមានអ្វីឲ្យមានសេរីភាពឡើងវិញហើយក៏សង្ឃឹមថានឹងឈានទៅមុខតទៅទៀតខ្ញុំសប្បាយចិត្តមែនតើបានមានសេរីភាពក៏ប៉ុន្តែក៏ថាទីពីរក៏មិនសប្បាយចិត្តម្យ៉ាងដោយសារគាត់នៅជាប់ខំឬក៏ថានៅការតាមដានរបស់តុលាការនៅឡើយមិនមែនអញ្ចឹងមិនមែនថាទម្លាក់ដល់ការចោទទាំងអស់ទេអត់ទេនេះគឺគេហៅថាជាប់គុកអត់ចិញ្ចៀងចេញពីគុកមិនចិញ្ចៀងជាប់អត់ចិញ្ចៀងចាទោះយ៉ាងណាខ្ញុំមានអារម្មណ៍ក៏សប្បាយចិត្តដោយសារអីគាត់មានសេរីភាពនៅក្រៅឃុំវិញក៏ជាជាងនៅក្នុងជាប់ពន្ធនាគារដោយសារខ្ញុំបានមើលថែគាត់ខ្ញុំខ្លួនឯងនឹងឲ្យគាត់បានចូលរៀនវិញចាហើយសំខាន់បើសិនជាគាត់ចូលរៀនវិញនឹងមានភាពរើសអើងពីមិត្តភ័ក្តិឬក៏ញាតិខាងនឹងយ៉ាងណាទេចាដោយសារគាត់ធ្លាប់មានឈ្មោះថាជាប់គុកចា
Released on Wednesday, the teenager walked out to his tearful mother and a handful of supporters who put flower garlands around his neck. The son of a jailed opposition figure, 16-year-old Kak Soban Chai, was arrested in late June for posts on a private group on the Telegram messaging service, a move that drew alarm from rights groups over the treatment of children with disabilities. In a statement, 3 UN rights experts condemned Kak Soban Chai's case as a, quote, shameful nadir in the authorities' continuing campaign of intimidation and violence against critics of the Cambodian government. Strongman leader Hun Sen is one of the world's longest-serving leaders and has been in power for 36 years, during which critics say he has winded back democratic freedoms and used the courts to stifle opposition. Last week, a court ruled Kak Soban Chai's messages constituted incitement and were insulting to public officials and sentenced him to 8 months in prison. He had already been in custody for 4 months, and the remainder of the term was suspended for 2 years.
Indonesian President Joko Widodo and Malaysian Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob say the two neighboring countries will reopen border for fully vaccinated travelers. The statement was made when the two met in Jakarta during Yaakob's first official visit since taking his oath of office in August. Let's watch this.
Pentingnya kerjasama perlindungan warga negara Indonesia yang berada di Malaysia. Saya mendorong kiranya MOU perlindungan tenaga kerja domestik Indonesia dapat segera diselesaikan. Dan guna mendukung upaya pemulihan ekonomi, tadi kita juga sudah sepakat untuk dibuat travel corridor arrangement
antara kedua-dua negara melalui aturan Travel Corridor Arrangement ataupun TCA atau Vaccinated Travel Lane. Dan saya telah bersetuju dengan Bapak Presiden membuka sempadan negara, kita boleh buka border kita dan mungkin perangkat awal ini kita mulakan dengan Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta, Kuala Lumpur dan juga Kuala Lumpur, Bali, Kuala Lumpur.
According to Channel News Asia, in a separate press release issued by the Malaysian Prime Minister's office, it said that the travel lane would give priority to those who have been fully vaccinated, for officials, business travelers, and those traveling for medical and humanitarian reasons. The travel corridor will also involve mutual recognition of COVID-19 vaccination certificates and standard COVID-19 polymerase chain reaction or PCR screening test results, said the statement. Malaysia hopes that the travel lane with Indonesia can start in early 2022, added the statement. Indonesia has so far no vaccinated travel lane or VTL with other countries, but Malaysia announced its first VTL on Monday with Singapore. Mr. Ismail Sabri is currently on 3-day visit to Indonesia at the invitation of Mr. Widodo.
Back here in the country, the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI Secretary Ramon Lopez, believes that vaccination against coronavirus disease should not be a requirement in companies, but firms should think of ways to incentivize employees that got the jab. Take a look.
Ngayon, kung pag-uusapan naman ay yung vaccinated requirement, let's say sa trabaho, again, hindi po natin sinasuggest na gawing requirement yan. Ang atin pong sinasuggest ay gawing insentibo yan, gawing preference. In other words, kung mag-a-apply tayo ng trabaho, ay pwedeng ilagay naman ng kumpanya, they are free to do that. May prerogative sila. Imbis na government magsabi, companies can also give a prerogative na to hire only healthy people or vaccinated people. Di ba? Meron tayong mga physical, medical test pag nag-a-apply sa mga opisina. Ganyan din po yan. Pwede nilang gawing requirement yan. At, gawing preference. Kumbaga may additional point ka for hiring kung ikaw ay vaccinated. Ganun din sa pag-existing workers. Hindi nila pwedeng paalisin pagka hindi vaccinated. Pero pwede silang maglagay ng mga incentives para dun sa mga vaccinated, para mahikayat yung unvaccinated na magpa-vaccine na din. So, insentibo, let's say sa promotion, mas may merits, positive merits ka pag vaccinated, and the like, no? Other incentives that they can think of for the vaccinated employees.
The top trade official urged Filipinos to get the much-needed shot in the arm to lower risks of contracting COVID-19 and to further decrease severe cases and deaths because of the virus. He also added that vaccination is also the key to open up more economic activities and bring back jobs across the country.
Finally, in our news, President Duterte has issued an executive order authorizing the nationwide alert level system to contain the spread of the coronavirus disease 2019 or COVID-19 in the country. Under EO 151 inked Thursday, Duterte allowed the adoption of the ALS for nationwide rollout that will be undertaken in 4 phases. The first phase of nationwide implementation covers the pilot areas where ALS or ALS is currently being implemented according to the order. Other regions, EO 151 said, will follow in the succeeding phases. Listed in Phase 1 are Metro Manila, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Western Visayas, Central Visayas, Northern Mindanao, and Davao Region. Ilocos Region, Eastern Visayas, and Sorsogon fall under Phase 2, while Cagayan Valley, Bicol Region, and Zamboanga Peninsula are under Phase 3. Included in Phase 4 are Cordillera Administrative Region, Mimaropa, Caraga, and the other Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. The existing guidelines on the ALS or ALS approved by the Interagency Task Force for Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases will remain in effect and will be enforced in all areas where COVID-19 alert levels will be implemented.
Thank you very much, Esther, for keeping me company as always. I hope you have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend too, Alma, and it's always my pleasure. And that is the latest news in the ASEAN region. Thank you for joining us today here in ASEAN in Focus. I'm Esther Adanga from Thailand Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
And we'll see you back next week. Have a great weekend, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.
Susunod na programa ay rated PG. Ito ay nangangailangan ng patnubay,